miracles through the energetic process that Michael Hirshorne has developed. What's so special about Michael Hirshorne is he is a former accountant turned thought leader and author who helps people explore life's deeper questions around purpose, consciousness, and energy. And he's an inspiring thought leader and author. So, Michael Hirshorne, tell us, how can entrepreneurs manifest miracles through the energetic process, and tell us what that actually means.
Follow me for more manifestation techniques.
Well, before I actually get into that, Lily, I'm having a little difficulty here. Can you see me?
I can see you.
You can. I can't really see you. It zoomed out for a second, and I had you actually on my screen. So give me 1 second here. I'm not sure what just happened. There we go. All right, we're back. So I'd like to, first of all, welcome your listeners to our show here. And the question was, again, I'm sorry, repeat that while we were getting back.
Okay, very good. So how can entrepreneurs manifest miracles through your energetic process? And what is specifically this process?
Okay, well, that's a good question, Lily. And essentially, for many years now, entrepreneurs have been basically engaged in their particular process through business-like manner. And they never really thought about the spiritual process, engaging both the business side and the spiritual side. This actually is a new adaptation. It actually has been recently kind of been enveloped by many entrepreneurs, myself included, where you involve spirituality with business processes. It started for me years ago. I started questioning why things had to be the way they were. And I started engaging in reading and Kabbalah and various modalities and things that just started piquing my interest. Spirituality was one of those. And I questioned why things had to be the way they were. And they continued that way for so long. You went to work, you made money, you came home, you did your thing. And I asked, why does it have to be this way? Why can't it be more engaging, more enlightening? Why is it this way? So it started getting me thinking, and I started doing a lot of reading and researching, and came up with my own kind of way of doing things. And now I'm finding that this is a popular kind of way to engage in the business process. So what I tend to do is, whether it's with business or anything really, the social process, engaging with people, parties, whatever, your career, I try to do things from a kind of spiritual perspective where I'm putting my concentration on engaging in the entire process. In other words, I merge spirituality with whatever else I'm doing. Self-actualization is the key word. So what is it? What am I doing to serve? Whatever it is, if I'm thinking about something, I'm doing something, whatever it is, is that serving me or not? And that question could be answered a number of ways. But that's what I really want to get at with the listeners is, does what I'm about to think, do, or say serve me, serve my higher purpose, serve my higher self? And I put self with a capital S. So if the answer is, well, this is how it is going to serve me, and this is how it's going to do it, you hear that in the background, I move forward with it. If not, I negate it. But you can use that in any practice, with business or with anything, engaging with people. Anything can be done. Washing your hands can be done in a more spiritual way. Eating, some people say prayers before they eat. Well, all you're doing when you say a prayer before you're eating is you're stopping and you're thinking, how is this serving me? How is this making me more engaged? And does it actually help with whatever I'm about to do? So that's really where I'm coming from. Any action we do, can be thought of from a spiritual perspective. And I put spiritual in quotes. I don't necessarily mean religious. I mean your higher self. You're engaging. So I'm sorry, Lily, hold on one second.
Tell us more about your blueprint to manifest miracles through the energetic process. Give us a deeper overview of what entrepreneurs need to do to implement this.
What they need to do to manifest the miracle is actually think about what they're doing before they actually do it. I mentioned the word self-actualize. Every action I take, every thought that I have, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, how does this help me self-actualize? How does it help me move forward? And when you do that, you're engaging in this process, which takes you into kind of another way of thinking about things. For most of my life, I thought about them, as with everybody else, through a particular lens. I experienced my reality, as does everybody, through a lens. So when I realized that, and I said to myself, if I can just remove the dirt from the lens, or better yet, switch out that lens for something else, how will I then see this process in another way? And can that benefit me? That's where everything started clicking. And that's where supposed miracles started happening. The reality of it is they sound miraculous. They even look miraculous at times, but really all I'm doing is engaging in the process. And I'm doing that by realizing that through my entire life, I've been looking at my reality, engaging with my reality through a lens. That's all it was. And when I started doing all this reading and evaluating and studying, that's where it was like, okay, can we clean that lens off? Better yet, can we switch it out? And then the miracles started happening. I started getting signs, literally signs, like road signs, license plates, little hits here and there. And where sometimes a door would close, a window would open. And that's where I would actually, notice that in a more engaging way. And it's like, oh, hey, I thought I was going to go left, but instead that door closed. I went right. The window opened, and here I go, and off I go. You notice these things after a while. It really is fairly easy to do, but you have to realize that you're engaging this process through a lens. You're looking at it through a lens. You're discovering this reality through a lens. And when you do, can you switch it out? Would it benefit you? If it doesn't go back to your old lens, great, that's fine. That's where the miracles started happening. The quote unquote miracles, I say miracles, but it's really just a process. Like I said, it's just a process. It's discovering what works for you. If it works, go with it.
Thank you. Give us an example, a practical example, so we can understand deeper how this energetic process works to manifest miracles and anything entrepreneurs desire in their lives.
Okay. You're going along for, say, years, one step at a time, one after another. You start the process. Okay, you're supposed to go to school. You're supposed to go to college, engage, get the degree, get the job, and everything's going along fine for a while. And you're questioning why it's not working for you. You're making the money, but you're not engaged. You're engaging with the process, but yet you feel down. And you start discovering that it's not just about the career or the relationship or the money or the power or this and that. And you start questioning, why don't I feel better about myself? I thought I had everything I wanted. And that's what happened to me. And that's when I started doing the research. And the research led me down the path of spirituality, where the most important question when I got up in the morning was, is this serving me or not? How do I want to self-actualize? I kept this word kept coming into my head, self-actualization. How do I want to engage and change up the process so where I can become more influential, feel better about myself? Every day when I get up in the morning, I feel great about the day that's about to happen. I feel great about it because I have gratitude for it. Gratitude was what changed things for me. I just didn't have that before. I expected things to come because if I worked hard, I would get what I was going for. Now I get up, I feel gratitude for my eyelashes, for my hair, everything I have. And when you feel gratitude for something, it tends to expand into bigger and bigger and bigger and better. So gratitude is key. Gratitude is very important for me. Some people say religious prayers. Some people just basically say a non-religious prayer to themselves. But that is very key for me, is gratitude. The example was, I switched gears for the longest time as an accountant. Assets equal liability plus owner equity. It was very black and white. Then all of a sudden I said, this isn't working for me anymore. And I switched up the gear. Once I did that, then things started happening in a very spontaneous way, quote unquote spontaneous. They just started happening. I did a lot of reading. Reading is key. Read as much as you can about whatever interests you. But mainly for me, it was anything that had to do with self-actualization and spirituality. Anything on Deepak Chopra, anything on Wayne Dyer, Carolyn Myss, these types of people that actually, spoke went to the TED Talks and those type of things. I would read as much as I could. And that's what changed me. So.
Thank you. So let's take a practical example. So let's say I wake up in the morning and I know already that I should be waking up a lot earlier, because I think that will do me good, because that will be my highest good, right?
Why do you think that?
Because, for example, let's say I'm currently waking up at 10 and I go to bed late, and because of that, I know that I'm not as healthy or as energetic as I would like to be. I'm already very energetic, but I know my energy could be 1,000 times bigger if I went to bed at a normal time, for example.
Right. So maybe you're feeling, shall we say, a bit guilty about not being as productive as you could.
Yes.
So, okay. Perfect example. So in the morning, you're feeling that way, but yet you continue to do it. Why? Because you're accustomed to it. You're accustomed to doing this type of thing. You really haven't made the decision in your mind that in order to be more productive, because I want to be more productive, I have to switch times that I'm going to bed. It's very easy to fall into a pattern. It's a little bit more challenging and difficult to break that pattern and get into another routine. But if you try it once, twice, 3 times, after 3 times, it becomes a habit. Now all of a sudden you're getting up at 7, 8, even 9. An hour earlier might even do the trick. And you find yourself with more energy. You're more connected. You're more productive. I think it's really a matter of switching that gear. I was stuck for years in this routine. And the minute I made that decision to switch gears and just said, I've had enough of this. I really had enough. I need to do something. It was difficult at first, but then once you get into the routine, you really feel better about yourself. You feel more productive. You feel more energized. And that leads to the next thing and the next thing. I started doing more reading. I started exercising more. I started eating healthier. One thing led to another. So that is a very good example right there. It's habit. We form these habits. Why? Because we're comfortable with the habit. It's hard to break that habit because you're out of your comfort zone. But just try it a few times. Once, twice. By the 3rd time, you'll notice you're accustomed to it. Now you can go off in a different direction. Thank you.
Now, there's millions of people that are fat. Like, there's millions of people that are actually overweight, dangerously overweight, right? And
absolutely.
And it's not like they don't know that they should be eating healthier. But somehow there's something that's happening there where there's lack of discipline, right? And there's a lot of comfort and comfort eating. And so how can someone who, let's say, would like to have, the body of Jennifer Lopez, or I don't know, whatever muscular man, I can't think of a single one right now.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, anyone who would like to have that kind of amazing fit body, but doesn't have the discipline to kind of start working out, where do they get started? Because it sounds very easy. You know what? I'm gonna start eating healthily, or I'm gonna be exercising. But the reality is, I remember when I was a lot chubbier, okay, I mean, I've always been very sporty, really, but I find that some people are not so sporty because maybe they were not trained from a really young age to like go hiking and walk for 20 kilometers a day.
Sure.
And that's a habit that they don't have, that I have, for example. So
Sure.
how can someone like that, who would like to have an amazing body, who would like to do all these amazing things, but they don't have the discipline, and they're not even like putting it into their mind that, what, actually I should do this, I should start doing that.
Well, see, the word that you hit on, which I will key into, was mind. You mentioned the word mind. Now, when you tell yourself, boy, I'd like to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'd love to look like Jennifer Lopez, and boy, wouldn't it be nice to look like that? Sure, it would be. But if you're telling yourself consciously or even subconsciously without knowing it, I really feel fat. I feel fat. I feel uncomfortable. I look fat. I feel ugly. Whether you're saying that out loud or inside in your mind is extremely important. And it's dangerous because what you're doing is you're downloading information into that computer that you call a brain. You're downloading that information day after day. And what you speak and what you feel are incongruent with each other. So what you need to do is get congruency. And in order to do that, you feel the same way that you think. So in other words, there was a man named Neville Goddard, and Neville Goddard said something like this: you have to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I believe he wrote in the 40s. He was a very influential motivational speaker. You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you keep thinking that way. So you can't say, I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but tell yourself you're ugly. You look in the mirror and you tell yourself you're ugly and you feel fat. You may look fat, but if you keep repeating the words, I am thin, and imagine yourself as thin, eventually you're going to convince your brain subconsciously that you are thin. I am thin. I feel thin. And eventually you start to get into better habits. Eventually you start to look better, one thing at a time. And then all of a sudden, through quote unquote miraculous ways, you are losing the weight. Why? Because you've already assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You're never going to get there no matter what you do. Even if you exercise, even if you eat right, if you're downloading those programs into your subconscious, that is more dangerous than anything else. So you've got to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled first and foremost, then get into those habits, the new habits, because it's more important to do that.
Why do you call this process the energetic process? What's energetic about it?
Excellent. What is energetic about it? I'll tell you what is energetic about it. Everything is energy. When I started exploring this, I was dumbfounded by the fact that the greatest scientific minds of our time were stating this in one form or another. I'll give you an example. Einstein himself, one of the greatest scientific minds of the century, of all time, really, said energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can only be transformed. When I was looking into matter itself, okay, made up of molecules, which are made up of atoms, which are made up of subatomic particles. Those subatomic particles are themselves energetic waves. They're packets, they're frequencies. Even your thoughts are energy. Everything is energy. And when I looked into this further, I discovered really that these subatomic particles, these quarks and bosons and leptons, if they're just energetic packets, then if they make up the atoms, and the atoms make up everything else in physicality, which is true, scientifically proven that atoms are the smallest physical pieces of matter, then everything really, truly, scientifically is energy. Because at the very base, these energetic packets, the bosons and the quarks and the leptons, these types of things make up the atoms, which make up everything else in physicality. The really strange part is that if those are non-physical parts, non-physical comprises physical. At the very sub level, the bottom level is non-physical, which creates physical. So everything is energy if we look at it. Those atoms are mostly space, 99.9% space, because the electrons rotate around a nucleus made up of protons and neutrons. And between the electrons and the nucleus is 99.9% space. So what you don't have that space is energy. So we are energy. Our thoughts are energy. Our skin, our fingernails, our computers, everything around us, which is comprised of atoms, is energy, period.
How can we use this information? Because, for example, I notice sometimes I'm this big ball of energy, and it's like everyone seems to be like attracted to me, like
Right.
and I go to events and they're like, wow, you're so charismatic and you're so fun, and we should hang out. And then sometimes I have like this lower frequency, especially if I'm like angry about something I know my team member did, or angry about something else. It could be something even tiny that that could be like literally creating a different energy, right? So how can we create this kind of like positive energy that helps us to manifest, and how can we reduce the likelihood of having this negative energy that seems to like attract all these like scammers and bad situations in our lives?
That's a perfect example of what I was about to get into next, because in the physical world, you've got north and south poles which attract each other. They're opposites. So opposites will attract in the physical world. But in the metaphysical world, meta meaning beyond, like attracts like. So you touched on that just now, where you said, if I'm feeling in a bad mood, for some strange reason, it's not strange at all, actually, I'm attracting these things, these people that are in bad moods. They're coming up to me, they're angry, they're depressed, whatever, because you are emanating this lower frequency, anger, even rage when it goes beyond that, depression, anxiety. These are lower energies. These are lower frequencies. If you're emanating this frequency, it will attract back to you those same types of scenarios, which will cause more of that to come to you. So what you need to do is first and foremost, it's important to realize, oh, I know, what am I doing now? I'm emanating this frequency of depression. I feel sad. It's easy to say. I know it's harder to do, but you have to recognize the fact that you're emanating this signal, this energetic frequency. Really what it is a signature. You're emanating this signature, and it's coming back to you in the form of events, circumstances, people that match that frequency. So you realize what you're doing, and you have to turn that switch, somehow get yourself into, well, what is it that I would like to think about? If you're in a bad mood, is there anything at all that could snap you out of that, and like maybe gratitude? I'm grateful at least that I got up. Hey, I was feeling that pain in my stomach. It's really not that bad anymore. I'll just keep thinking how I'm healing. And that will eventually start to compound onto itself. So you're switching slowly, maybe at first. You're switching that frequency from a lower frequency to a higher one. And the higher you go, the better off it becomes. It's going to attract more and more of that. Example, you stub your toe. You get up out of bed, you stub your toe. You start cursing, and then you're late for work, but you can't find your keys. Now you finally find your keys, but you drop them in between a crack, and now you're really late for work. And now you find that you're about to run out the door, and you lock the door unknowingly, and you're locked out of the house, but your keys are inside the house, and your keys are what can start the car. I've had days like this, and on it goes. What you're doing, all you're doing really is attracting that frequency back into your life. And it really works that way. It's that simple. Find a way to switch that frequency out.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you so they can manifest miracles.
Heaveniswithin.com is my website. I've been working on that for quite a while. It's got a lot of really good and valuable information on it. It actually had the book in the background here is Taking a Chance on Life, and that book can explain a lot about energy, about the merging of spirituality and entrepreneurship, about all kinds of things that we're talking about here that can help. And also in the book and on the website, I mention a lot of resources that really have to do with energy as well and healing. And the resources will take you in another direction. I found that a lot of these books led me to even more books and more reading with as far as energy and that type of thing and healing. Found them very helpful. Conversations with God, Anita Morjani, Dying to Be Me. And I explore a lot of topics, life after death, healing, consciousness, energy, that type of thing. And some of the videos are kind of cool too, if they want to explore on that, on Heaven is Within. It's actually a pretty good site. I've also got an audio book coming out probably within 6 to 8 weeks. Same thing, taking a chance on life, except in audio version, if your listeners are into audio.
Manifestation Empress podcast
with Lily Patrascu shares manifestation strategies to live your dream life.